I bet you already know you can sync up multiple audio and video clips with just a simple hand clap, a slate, or even the fancy new waveform matching feature that pretty much all the editing programs have these days. But the problem with those methods is that they require something visual or audible to be present at the same time to line them up in post-production. Over the years, I've wasted way too many hours from poorly shot multicam and dual system sound shoots that didn't have those synchronization cues. For instance, here's a clip that couldn't sync based on waveforms because the scratch audio was so poor. And now here's how instantly I can sync an entire bin of clips with just one mouse clip using this simple jam sync timecode tip using Tentacle Syncs on set and then editing in DaVinci Resolve. Real quick, before we jump into taking a look at how simple it is to sync up your clips with timecode, let me briefly explain what it is and when I like to use it. If you want to skip ahead to the how-to sections, I marked the chapters for those in the description and in the comments for you to get to exactly what you're looking for. In fact, there's a section in there about using multicam with multi-channel audio that you're not going to want to miss. So, what is jam sync timecode? Well, besides jam syncing being possibly one of the most fun words to say on set, it's actually really simple. It's when you have one master source clock with a very accurate time in frames that sends the same precise time to all the devices that you jam sync it to. We call those other devices slaves. So you've got one master, and right here it'd have a couple slaves, you might have more. But in other words, it's just a fancy clock. The Tentacle Sync E timecode generators, which is what I'm going to demo here in this video, it's the first budget-minded way to do this super pro workflow on any consumer camera that has a 3.5mm microphone input. When to use timecode? Anytime you're running multiple cameras or a separate audio recorder is a good time to think about using timecode. The more indie and run and gun the project is, the more important and useful it is, even though that sounds counterintuitive. This includes the simple interview setup, a run and gun full day shoot, like any kind of event with several camera operators that are roaming in a large venue, documentary field work where you never know when you need to push the record button, or anytime you have lots of stopping and starting with multiple cameras. This is going to save you so much time when you go into the edit, which then of course could save you money. And the beauty of this workflow is you can stop and start your new cinema cameras, your fancy new Sony FX3 or Canon C70 as much as you want, because you no longer need to worry about doing that annoying hand clap at the start of each take. Nothing wrecks the mood like a good old hand clap to start an emotional interview with someone that's not used to being filmed. You can also save on media storage because of the freedom to cut a camera and reset a shot and not worry about that it needs to be precisely synced up again in post. Hey, real quick, I just want to welcome you if you're new here to this channel. I'm Chadwick. This is Creative Video Tips. It's all about helping you craft stories to make a difference and stand out. So if you're into that, please subscribe right down below right now. That way you don't miss out on the tip next week. I've got lots of great tutorials to help you get up to speed with DaVinci Resolve and filmmaking in general. And with that out of the way, let's take a look at how to set up the Tentacle Syncs and how you can use it in DaVinci Resolve. Now, a common complaint I hear a lot with people that don't want to use jam sync timecode is that they think it's too burdensome, it's too hard to set up, it takes too long. But with the Tentacle Sync E's, these things are so lightweight and easy to set up because they have an iPhone app. And if you can use any sort of iPhone app, you're going to be able to figure this out really quickly. So let me just show you how to set it up. You're going to need one of these for each of your devices, by the way. Let's set this down. We'll open up our iPhone app. And it recognizes all our devices that we had previously used right there. And to turn them on, there's a little slider on there. You just hold that for about a second, and it's going to start flashing red. Okay, red is basically saying, hey, I need to be synchronized. So we'll do that to each of the devices. Hold it for about a second. So this is something you would do at the beginning of each shoot. It's basically about as hard as turning on a microphone, to be honest. Okay, now they're all on there. It says they need to be synchronized. They're red. We'll hit the sync button, and you can choose your frame rate. It's got all the standard SMPTE timecode frame rates. We're choosing 2398. That's what I like to shoot at. And you can change your time so that it matches, whatever you'd like it to be. So if you wanted to match a time of day, right now it's 9:41 here. You could double tap here and make this 41, and hit start, and it starts syncing to all of them. And it gives us time of day time code. Everything is green, everything's synchronized, ready to go, just like that. Now all you really need to do is plug them in. So you've got these 3.5mm microphone cables. They plug into the top right there with all three of them. Pretty simple, right? And then you would take these guys and plug them into the microphone inputs on your camera. So here I've got a Sony FX3, got a little red microphone input right there. Plug that in. And now it's going to be receiving LTC linear timecode to the left channel. And then on the right channel, it actually has a microphone on the Tentacle Sync itself. A lot of people don't know this. That's going to give you another little bit of scratch audio on the right side of your audio. So that's all there is to set up to them. There's one little bonus thing with the Blackmagic cameras. They actually have a dedicated timecode input, which means it'll take the LTC timecode. If you plug this into your microphone input here, it'll convert the LTC timecode to metadata timecode in the camera for you. Now, that doesn't matter for our situation here because we're going to actually be using DaVinci Resolve. And DaVinci Resolve has this little superpower that converts linear timecode to metadata timecode for you with just right-clicking, and that's what I'm going to show you next over in DaVinci Resolve. Here in DaVinci Resolve 17.3, I've got clips from a Sony FX3, an A7S III, and a Sound Devices Mix-Pre 3, which is what recorded all the great audio. And the first step to really organizing your footage when it's in here to do a multicam, even with the Jam Sync timecode that we have on these, is to assign camera numbers to them. This is so that all your clips from the same camera end up on the same track. Some of these don't have enough metadata, and that's what we're going to be providing for them right now. So I switched to list view. If they were in thumbnail view, this is how you get to list view, right? This button right here. And then if you click your clip name up here, it kind of organizes them a little bit for you. So you can shift select all of the FX3 clips. We're going to do that. And then we're going to go over to our metadata field. If all of them aren't showing, if it's just showing clip details, you can choose shot and scene. Go down and find the clip number. And we're going to call that 1 and hit save. So those are all assigned the same camera number. And then we'll do the same with these A7S III clips right here. Shift select them, checkbox camera number 2, hit save. And now you can see the Sound Devices clips, they're smart enough, they actually write the metadata in the file. So those are good to go. And then the other thing I want to point out before we get any further is under Workspace, there's actually a timecode window. And since this whole video is on timecode, I figured it'd be nice if we had some timecode visible for all the clips as we're working on them. And also, before we go any further, I want to point out what audio timecode sounds like. You've waited long enough to hear this. Let's hit play. So you can see that left channel right there, that sound right there, that is the audio timecode. That is linear timecode playing back. And that is persistent on all these files. We get that same sort of thing on all of them. So, but here's the thing. You look at timecode fields right here. This start timecode is 2 hours, 40 seconds. This one here is 19 hours, and then the audio down here is at 10 hours. None of those match at all, right? And you're like, well, didn't we record audio timecode? We did, but what Resolve is reading initially is the metadata timecode. So we need to update with the linear timecode, the audio timecode, to the metadata timecode. This is how you do it. It's so easy. All we're going to do is select all of these video clips. And this is one of the things that actually just got updated and fixed a little bit in this current version of Resolve. Then you're just going to right click and then you go to update timecode from audio track. That's the secret to all this. As soon as I do this, you're going to see those timecode numbers change. Okay, I said update timecode from audio track. I clicked it. And just like that, you'll see all the timecodes have just changed. And now we actually have timecodes that are, they're in the same ballpark there. Now to create a traditional multicam, select all the clips with Command A, right click, say create new multicam using selected clips. And then under here, under angle sync, this is something you might not have used before, but make sure that is on timecode. And then we're going to choose detect clips from same camera. And then we'll say metadata is using the camera number. That's what we had set up with setting the two cameras to 1 and 2. Just click create and you'll see how fast this happens. Boom, just like that. It's like instantaneously. It's unbelievable, right? We can open this in timeline by right-clicking on it saying open in timeline. And just like that, you can see all of the clips basically in order of how they were shot, just like that. I mean, check that out. That's amazing, right? Now that all the waveforms have filled out, you might have noticed on our good audio track, this Mix Pre 3, it looks like it's combined all of our audio tracks into an adaptive track. So we've got 5 audio tracks. If we look back here at the original, let's look at this Mix Pre 3. We actually have, a stereo mix. We've got lobs on each. We've got a boom that's separate. We want to be able to manipulate all these in the Multicam. And this is the big gotcha that a lot of people don't understand about Multicam in DaVinci Resolve and how you work with it. So let's go back to the edit page and create a timeline from this Multicam sequence. And I'll show you how to work with it properly. Go to Media Pool, and let's create a sequence from the Multicam. So the Multicam is kind of like a nest. We're going to right click on it and say create new timeline using selected clips. We'll call this Multicam edit, and it's based on the selected media. We'll hit create, and now it's mashed it all down into one that's like a stereo track. So that doesn't seem very helpful at all, now does it? Well, we're gonna get there, just hang on, okay? I'm gonna close the media pool to give us a little more space, and let's get rid of the timecode window. That's just getting annoying to me right now. The waveforms haven't drawn yet because, I don't have the fastest computer in the world. And to see Multicam, when you have the dual viewer, dual monitor setup here, if you don't, by the way, it's this button right here. The left side is going to give you access to seeing Multicam. Click Multicam, and you can see both your angles at the same time. Now, we want the audio angle only, which is why I have music. This little music thing means it's only going to change the audio. I'm going to hit Option and click on that to make sure that we're getting the angle 3 audio, which is the good audio sound from the Mix Pre 3. Okay. Now, here's the other thing. Now that we have this set, on this audio track, I know I'm not going to use the audio from the video cameras themselves, so I'm going to do, basically, I'm going to pull this audio out of the Multicam, okay, for this all to work great. We're going to right click on it, and we're going to flatten Multicam clip, but just on the audio, okay? Flatten that, and now we basically, we don't have the option to change the audio anymore, but that's okay. We do still see an issue here, and the issue is that I've got all this mixed down into a stereo adaptive track. Well, let's change this by right-clicking on it. We'll say change track type to adaptive 5 because we actually have 5 tracks in there. And we can see that we still have access to all those by selecting it and right-clicking and saying display individual audio channels. So they're all still there. Now, the downside to this, they're all still there and that's all beautiful. I can't edit these independently. It's all at the same time, right? Like, it's all or none, right? And you could say, yeah, you could go over to the Fairlight page and see all of them in here and work with them. But because they all live on one track, you actually really can't edit them independently very easily. And I want to work in the edit page. So the way you can do that is another little trick here. You right click on it, you say convert to linked group. So that's in this track header area, convert to linked group. Okay, now that I've done that, it's broken them out into mono tracks on all of them. But here's another thing. We got one more step to do. If you look over on the mixer, it still just has control over A1 because they're all linked together. So to unlink them, we're going to select them all with our mouse. We're going to go up to Fairlight, Link Group, and under Link Group, we're going to unlink them. So there's this little box right here. If you just, you select that and you say unlink, now they're unlinked. And just like that, now you'll see in the track mixer, we have isolated all 5 of those tracks again. They're all synchronized, ready to be worked with and manipulated individually. So that's one thing I know that has gotten a lot of people that are new to using Multicam and DaVinci Resolve. That's not just a jam sync timecode kind of deal. So I'm hoping that helps a lot of people out. The other thing you'll notice now, these are not linked in the sense of the audio and video clips linked together, which you probably want to do so they don't lose sync without you realizing it. The way you can do that, just select all and then right click and say link clips. So now if you take one of these clips here and move it out, you get that out of sync frame indicator warning you that, hey, you've actually nudged that out of place. I'm just going to undo. And you can go to town editing with your Multicam sequence right now. And you can still change this over here to Multicam because your video tracks basically are still Multicam. It's just your audio is not in the Multicam editable state anymore. You would just change this to video right here. And then you maybe change this to 1:2 for your view so that you're not, cluttered by so much stuff. And then you can just go through here and say if you want angle 2, you can hit 2 on the keyboard and it cuts to angle 2. And if you want to cut back to angle 1, 2, 1. And this video is not about how to cut multicam, but I just want to show you how fast it was to get that set up and that you can still have control of all your multi-channel audio using this workflow. Another really common technique for dual system sound and jam sync workflows is to sync the dailies. So taking this good sound with these video clips here that don't have good sound and putting the good sound on them, in other words. And the way you do that, once you've updated the time code from the audio time code, remember that was just a right click with update time code from audio track. Once you've done that so that the time code is read from the LTC, you can just put them all in the same folder. You can right click on the folder itself and say auto sync audio based on timecode. And as soon as I click this, you're going to see the audio channels change from 2 to 5 over there in that column for audio channels. And just like that, you can see they've all changed in instances where it had overlapping timecode. And all of those which had, that track 1 that had that annoying sounding LTC timecode, it's actually pulling in all the 5 channels from the Sound Devices MixPre 3 audio instead. So now that the dailies are sunk, let's jump to the cut page with Shift 3. And this is going to be another way of setting up your roughed out sequence. So let's go to Source Tape. This is going to let us see all the footage in the bin in the order it was shot. And to quickly get stuff down on the timeline, you can mark an I for in, an O for out, and then hit the append button. And that gets stuff down on our timeline right away, really quickly, okay? Maybe we go to another section, mark an I, mark an O, and append. Now, what's kind of special here about the cut page is this feature that's called the sync bin. So if you go up here, this is sync bin. And what sync bin is basically looking at everything that's in your bin right up there. And if it has matching time code between the two, it's going to give you an option to use what's called source overwrite to cut to the other angle at any point throughout the process. So what if at this moment, it's right now it's on that close-up of the dude in that sweet hat. What if I wanted to go to the wide shot? All I would need to do is hit 1 right here and then hit source overwrite, okay, which is this button right here. And then it automatically cuts that in sync on top, right? It goes from the one angle to the next. And so you could do a multicam that way as well. So basically the idea would be you're just cutting in the content that you need rather than looking at all of it and trimming it down. You're starting from nothing and adding just what you want. So that's cut page. If you want to learn more about the cut page and the speed editor, I've got a lot of stuff on this channel to check out to learn about it. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and if you did, please give it a like. And if you want to learn more about editing in DaVinci Resolve, click the playlist that I've got on screen right now. And because there's so much more to learn, I'll see you in that next video.